I think the libertarian think tanks can do good work in a variety of ways. One way is by giving support to libertarian scholars. It's very difficult for libertarian scholars to find financial support and to find anyone who will promote and publicize their work. And those things libertarian think tanks can do to some extent, especially publicizing and promoting. And most scholars are not good at promoting their own work, so this is not an unimportant task. So that's one thing that can be done. Another thing is libertarian think tanks can provide a bridge between scholars and the general public. They can commission or receive the kind of research that can be made comprehensible to ordinary people, unlike what scholars usually write for each other. So libertarian think tanks can help to disseminate the knowledge that scholars acquire in their own research. So those I think would be two of the main tasks that libertarian think tanks probably do better than anyone else. Well, there are limits. No society can sustain a government that grows forever, because eventually it will become so large and burdensome and intrusive and destructive of the creation of wealth that it will become a very destructive force. Smaller governments are also destructive, but because they're smaller, usually their actions are not so powerful in preventing entrepreneurs from continuing to create wealth. But the bigger the government gets, the more possibility comes to exist that the government will smother entrepreneurship. And if it does that to a high degree, then economic progress ceases. And if it then continues, economic decay is inevitable. And we've seen this in some places. But most of the time, societies do not drive themselves to complete ruin. Exceptions are the centrally planned economies. They did drive themselves to complete ruin. So they had to completely abandon the system of central planning. Less controlled societies usually push up to a margin, and at that point, when the consequences of their actions become so obvious and undeniable and destructive, they begin to make retrenchments because pressure is placed on them to retrench. So they may reduce taxes, they may alter regulations, they may do a variety of things that make the state less burdensome and less intrusive in economic life. So there's often a kind of interplay. There's an area where the state is pushed up against the limit that people will tolerate and that the system will tolerate without breaking down. And unless the politicians and the bureaucrats are complete idiots, they will pull back when they reach that point and make some adjustments. Now they will not, however, pull back all the way to laissez-faire. That was a theory that Ludwig von Mises developed, that there was a dynamic of interventionism. Intervention would lead to more intervention until finally the system became tied in knots and it broke down and it reverted to laissez-faire. I think experience has shown that it will not revert to laissez-faire, in part because the ideological forces in society do not want laissez-faire and will not tolerate it, but it will retrench. It will reduce its burdens somewhat. And so there's a continuing movement across this border area where the government is testing the limits of how far it can go against the reactions in society. Well, first of all, I should say that receiving this award was a total surprise. I never had even a thought of receiving this award. And I'm so honored that I cannot describe how good I feel about it, because I think many of us who think along the lines that I think do not get a lot of positive feedback for our work. And I won't say I've received none, that would be wrong. But if you're not in the orthodoxy, if you're not in the mainstream of scholarship, you are a kind of pariah in some ways. And so you're used to disappointment, you're used to discouragement. And this award has been a great encouragement. To me, it's a way of compensating for a lot of wounds sustained professionally over almost 50 years. I've loved being in Spain, never having been here before. Everything is new to me, so I'm greatly enjoying what I see as I walk around and travel around in automobiles, and so I'm having a very good time here. But most of all, the people here have been so gracious, so friendly, so hospitable, that it has made everything good. Even if Madrid were a terrible city, the people would have more than compensated for that. So I'm delighted to be here. Everything has been very positive, and I'm very grateful to the people who invited me.